Hi everyone, it's Hit from Bindaas Bollywood. Thank you for tuning in once again to all our podcasts and thank you for all the support so far. We have a very special guest today. I'm sure you know her because she's very well known. I'm so happy that she took the time out to talk to our audience today because we're trying to get lots of different artists from various industries to keep everyone inspired. So without further ado, Babushka Ferenczi. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that.
That's perfect. Hi, Tanjani. How are you?
Good. I was gonna say, I just said to you before as well, you always look so beautiful. I've always so glamorous. Like, I think people remember you because you have such natural beauty as well. Because we get to
Thank
see you a
you.
lot, without all the glamour when you're doing all your sports, and you're just such a natural beauty. I love that about you.
Thank you. It's actually the first time I do my makeup in months.
Like that, isn't it? It's actually a good
It was
break
good.
for our skin.
It was quite enjoyable, actually.
I completely agree. It's so nice not to be having to put this and all these products every single day.
Yeah.
It's a good break, I think, just for everything in general, especially the planet, not just for our skin. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I was going to ask you, first of all, because you wear so many different hats as an artist. You're a dancer, performer, a teacher. You do so many different things. You're a model. Oh my gosh. So how did your artistic journey begin? Like, was it in Melbourne or was it overseas where you're originally from? Or
Yeah, thank you. So I was actually doing some things in France when I was born and raised in France, and I started working there as well. So all of this artistic side started there. I started dancing, I think I was 16. Before that, I was doing gymnastics and sort of things. Modeling, I started around 16 years old as well. But it was on the side. So I was doing my studies, and then throughout my studies, I was working as well. I was teaching in different places. So that was just purely the hobby, I guess. I was performing as well and doing runways and sort of things, but it was really a hobby, or kind of cash in jobs, just once-off jobs kind of things. And then it only became really full-time work when I came to Melbourne. So yeah, big change of career from high school teacher to full-time artist. Very different.
it is a big change, but it's good because you still teach workshops and you do you facilitate workshops and classes as well now with your Jalwa dance company as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely. So teaching has always been like something I really love to do. And now it's even better because I get to get the kids, teenagers, and adults learning something that they actually want to learn, not when you teach in high school and you kind of have to be there. I was teaching languages at the time, and there are a lot of kids and teenagers are like, oh, I'm never going to use this. So now it's kind of the good side of teaching where they're 100% motivated to learn, they want to learn, they want to be here. So definitely having all the good sides of teaching now.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. But actually, I wanted to ask you a completely random question as well, because you spoke about growing up in France. So is there much of a difference between like the arts and entertainment industry in Melbourne and Australia compared to Europe in general?
Definitely, I think there is a lot of work opportunity in the dancing and performing industry in France. There's a lot of work because culturally, there's a lot of shows. There's a very dense population, so cities with a lot of people and very active nightlife. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity. And on the modeling side, I was able to do actually more runways, paid runways, than in Australia. For some reason, a lot of runways in Australia are non-paid, which is kind of something I really discovered here. In France, people wouldn't consider using models for free. I think it's just like, that's not something they do.
It should be the rule here. You shouldn't hire artists for free anyway. You know.
Yeah, but it seems in Australia it's kind of a normal thing. Like even if there's a charity event or anything where people are looking for people to work for free, they will usually turn to artists very just without any shame. They'll just ask you to work for free. In France, they would always do these charity events as well, but they obviously they budget in a way that the people who are going to be working there will be paid, and then the extra profit will go to the charity. So it's done a little bit different. So there's a lot more opportunities in France to perform, but I wouldn't have opened my own dance company in France, I think. So that kind of contradict itself, but I feel like in Australia, there's a bit of less opportunities. There's a bit less shows and events in general, but the general people are just so much more supportive and just really helpful for people who want to do their own thing, open their own business, and they're just going to be 100% behind you. Even people you don't really know, as soon as you say, "Oh, I have my own business," or "I open a little business," they just straight away want to know how they can help, if they can support you in any way. I feel like in France, the people are not so lovely. They're a little bit arrogant, especially in the industry. They're really, they're kind of very competitive. I guess the word is competitive. And so if they hear of someone starting their own business, before even they want to start the business, if the person says, "Oh, I was thinking, maybe I'll turn my passion into a business," people will just do everything they can to convince you not to do it. And they will make your life super difficult for you to start, because I guess, because there are so many people there already, the competition is really high, and they don't want new people to join in, because then that would decrease their work. So I find the general atmosphere and the general community is a lot tougher in France. That's why I was a high school teacher, which means it's a government job in France. So once you've done all your degrees and you've competed against all the people who want to get that position, after this you have guarantee of work for you until you retire. So that was my reason to pick, one of the reasons I picked that career in France, because then I don't have to push and compete against people and look for work constantly, which is quite a big thing in France. There's a lot of unemployment, and definitely opening my own business would have just not even come across my mind at the time. Whereas in Australia, people are just so lovely, and you'll actually meet, you have your own business, and I think a lot of people we know in the industry are just doing their own thing, whether they're subcontracting as individuals or they've organized something a little bit bigger. There's just so many people here, and all across all industries, I think, as well, whether it's the trades or any other industry. I feel like people are really keen to start their own thing, and everybody is really welcoming, supportive. Even the government is quite supportive. So I think that's one of the reasons that I could do this full time here and just really give it a go.
No, but honestly, congratulations. So much congratulations for all your success. Like, you just, like, everyone and anyone throughout Australia knows you. Like, the Melbourne entertainment and arts industry, as soon as you say your name, you don't even need to say your surname. It's kind of like saying Madonna or Elvis. Everyone knows Babushka. You say Babushka and people just know who you are, because you've had such an amazing career in Melbourne and just overseas as well. But just your everything you've done in Melbourne is just so outstanding. So congrats. I'm so happy. And I'm so sorry I couldn't come. I think when you opened your studio, you had your birthday event. I couldn't come, and I was so devastated. I thought, oh no, I really wanted to be there.
It would have been amazing to have you here. It actually got totally out of control, that party. I don't normally celebrate my birthday much. I've never organized a party before that, and my students were like, "Yeah, now you have your studio, it's perfect for a function. Let's do something." And I was really reluctant, and they said, "Oh, that's all right. You don't need to do anything. We'll just cook, bring some food, and we'll just party. You don't even need to be here if you don't want to." And it started like this, and it ended up with 150 people came.
I saw all the videos and photos. It looks so beautiful. But next time, definitely next time.
Yeah, people started telling me in advance, "Oh, we're going to arrive in a limousine and this and that." So I just built up the party to the expectations of people as they were booking in.
Maybe you should have, now that it was such a great event, you should even think about having like an annual studio party. Just so all the artists and everyone in the industry can come together, because everyone loves you. So we feel such
that's so sweet. Yeah, many people since they have hired my studio for parties actually. So it's fully set up now with lights and sound and everything. So a lot of people have done their own baby showers and birthday parties.
Yeah, it's a beautiful setup. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and my birthday is coming kind of soon as well. So if the restriction is lower and the risks are lower, I might do something again as possible.
Oh, good. I was actually going to ask you, like, so what motivates you as an artist? Like, you do so many different things within the arts industry, but is there anything specific that gives you motivation and inspiration?
I think it comes in a lot of kind of waves, and depending on what I do. Sometimes it can be just me scrolling through, walking through the different shops, and I will find one prop, for example. I was like, oh, this is really beautiful. I need to use it somehow, and then kind of start thinking of choreographies, and then I'm kind of research music that will fit the prop. So a lot of the choreographies come through that. And fabric as well. If I go to a fabric shop and I see something in particular, I'm like, oh, that would look really nice twirling, and then kind of make the costumes out of it, and then create the choreography usually after the costumes have been made. So that's one way, and that's the part that I do the most related to India, and because of all the colors and all the embellishments, and I don't know, I'm just it's hard not to get excited because it's always so beautiful. And then the music as well. So every time a new movie comes out, the atmosphere through the video clips just wants you to dance. I mean, you know, when you do the same, it just makes you want to dance. So far, it's still a challenge for me to understand the songs. I started learning Hindi, but I pick words, but I can't, especially in the songs, they're going so fast and they kind of shorten sentences or something. So it's a bit hard for me to understand. But then straight away, I need to know what they're saying. So I go and research the words and kind of work what they say. And then from there, it's just, yeah, you just want to dance. So that's one of the things. And then when I go out in nature as well, a lot of times just being out there, just a beautiful sunset or a nice river, just things kind of your brain can really relax and just really just daydream. I don't have, usually when I'm in those expeditions outdoors, I don't have a timetable. I don't have to be somewhere at a certain time. I'm there usually for a couple of days or something. So I can really relax and then just daydream and start choreographing in my mind. So yeah, that's usually how it happens.
That's something, I mean, that's so beautiful. Like you said it perfectly. Like when your mind is free, you're open to more ideas and inspiration. So it's a lot of the time we're rushing, you know, life here is so routine. You know, you get up, you got to go to work, you have to go to this gig and choreograph this song for this class. And it's very fast paced. So we don't often get that time to slow down. But no, it's good that you spend such a, you know, good amount of time in nature as well. But I wanted to ask you, like, what do you find the most challenging in the industry? Like, it can be the dance industry, the modeling industry, teaching industry. Pick one, or you can touch on all. It's really up to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the same challenge would apply to all of them. Would be to kind of, so when you're an artist and like you love to perform, you like to be on stage, you like the creative aspect. So even the preparation, whether it's choreographing or costumes or makeup, the sort of things, it's all really exciting. But then when you start doing, like you have your own business and this sort of thing, or even as a freelancing model, for example, the admin side of things is quite a challenge. Keeping up with invoicing, a bit of debates with customers, this kind of things, definitely is not something that appeals to me a lot. So it's something that I procrastinate to do very often. Very often very late with catching up with invoices and sort of things. So that for me that's a challenge. And so this, and as part of it would be marketing. So I don't really like going around and telling people how amazing I am, please book me. So it's a little bit easier with the troupe because I find it easier for me to sell the troops because they're all professional dancers. I love them a lot on personal and professional level. So it's a little bit easier for me to sell them. But on the modeling and acting side, for example, where it's really, I have to sell myself, I do very little with this. I have still no show reel. I do very little. So it's really lucky with social media. A lot of people just kind of tag you, and then other people see you this way, and you can just share work, and a lot of networking happens this way, or happens at fashion parties or something, which is really good. But I'm definitely very slack on the marketing side.
It can be very time consuming. I think admin is, same for me, my least favorite part of the job because it takes up so many hours of a day, you know, just going back and forth with clients. And most of the time, you know, everybody wants a discount or a free performance. And it's just, you know, and there are times, like, for example, we do free performances once in a while, but for very selected charities.
Yeah,
And I think what a lot of artists don't know is a lot of charity organizations, they do get funding for entertainment, for music, for catering.
yeah,
So you need to ask the question sometimes, otherwise you won't find out the answer. But and you know, it's just that admin is it. You said it perfectly. It does. It can be very tedious, and it's
yeah, definitely negotiations. I mean, a lot of customers are pretty smart with their negotiations and little tricks and different family members calling, and so
exactly.
this can be quite tiring, and not as fun. But because you have the gigs, or normally in normal times, you have the gigs just coming every weekend, and just the trainings and the classes coming through, so it kind of breaks the rhythm, just forces you to get out of in front of the computer.
Yeah.
And then yeah, lately I was just I had picked the option of a customer calls, I tell them the pricing. If they don't like the pricing, I'm like, oh sorry, I really have to go. And I just pretty much hang up so that I don't have to do these negotiations.
Yeah.
And if they are able to afford us, they call back. If not, we go do other shows. But lately it's been kind of like this.
It's it's definitely like that. Um, so this is a question I've asked all artists that's taken part in these videos and interviews and podcasts, but um, we're in the middle of quarantine. It's slightly getting easier, hopefully, but how's COVID-19 generally affected you as an artist, like in all the different aspects of what you do as an artist?
Yeah, well, pretty much. So when the Grand Prix was cancelled, the Grand Prix had already started. I was working there on the Thursday, and then on the Friday, working there as well. Friday morning, the audience was waiting at the gate, and everybody wanted to get in. Nobody knew. We were staff inside the perimeter, already ready to go. All the stands were ready. Everything was ready, and nobody knew whether it was going to go ahead or not. And in
Well,
the end, they let everyone know that the whole event was cancelled. And then pretty much on that exact moment, um, everything just shut down.
yeah.
So all my bookings, whether it was school incursions or events, functions, weddings, just everything, just one by one called me and just say, obviously we're going to cancel. So it's been a pretty dramatic change from just working. I was just in the middle of doing the bridal runways, so they come through in a batch of every Sunday. So we were in the middle of one of those, just the shows, the normal weekend shows, and then yeah, the big event, the Grand Prix, and just a lot of things that were lined up just dropped out. So that was pretty. I mean, I've never experienced this before, so it was
One
quite a worry, of course, because still have. I mean, I have my own studio, so I still have high outgoings. I don't know if it's the case for a lot of artists. I think a lot of artists normally hire the studio, so they don't lose right now because they haven't done those bookings. But for me, I still have the outgoings as well. So it was quite a bit of a worry. And just the idea of not going on stage every weekend. I don't know if that's because we're like, I don't know, people say attention seekers or something, but it's quite enjoyable to perform. It's quite sad to
I
be
mean,
told, no, you won't be doing this or you won't be doing that. It's a little bit difficult, I guess.
yeah, no, I
I
mean,
don't know how it felt for you.
no, yeah, it was the same. Like I basically became unemployed overnight. Same as
Yeah,
most artists, but I think thank God there's you know, technology like Zoom. Like I'm still running some of my classes online, but you know, just that the loss of work was just monumental for all artists. Like I mean, we
yeah,
had so many events. We had to cancel our own concert as well, our annual concert, which we run as a multicultural event and the charity event. So it was like
yeah.
the people that were receiving the money for the charity, the fundraising. So we were actually hoping to we were meant to give it to the bushfire victims. So
Uh-huh.
we were not able to give those funds because we couldn't run our concert. So it's just it wasn't just us that it was affected. It was like just it's a snowball effect. Like the dominoes just kept falling. But
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I remember the students first we had to cancel their show. They were going to go to the town hall on stage. So the kids especially was really, oh wow, we're not gonna go on stage, but it was in like 4 days or something. And then their classes at the studio got cancelled as well. And it was pretty hard to, when you have to tell other people, oh, it's not happening. But I remember you were one of the first ones to do the classes online. I was like thinking to myself, oh, that's so cool. I was thinking to myself, I can't do that. I'm not very tech savvy. So I was really thinking, oh, I hope they will be open soon. I can open the studio because I'm not very good with online things. And in the end, I ended up giving it a go as well. And it's working nicely. It's it's very different.
It is
But
very different. I think because the human interaction, you're seeing people on the screen. I'm seeing my kids, like the students and the adult students, but it's the human connection is lost. So you do feel that void, a little bit of that emptiness in terms of
yeah.
emotion is there. And you know, with internet, there's always a lag, a delay with the music. So it's
Yeah, you've noticed that as well. I don't know that my students notice it as much because they receive the sound and the video from the same device. So I guess they get lagged at the same time. So for them, the video and the audio match.
yes,
But for me, when I watch them, I hear my own music and I see their image. It's quite funny sometimes.
it
It's that
is.
little delay. And depending on the screen, they all slightly lagged at a different time. So it's quite comic at times. But I found the kids are the ones who adapted the quickest.
Definitely.
And they just, even sometimes, they just totally mute themselves because the background is a bit noisy or something. They mute themselves and they just communicate straight away with hand gesture. And it's as if nothing special was happening, as if we were always doing this.
Exactly. No, I found that as well. Kids are amazing these days. And I guess because we live in such a technology driven world now, you know, kids are used to being on Snapchat and TikTok. So they kind of, they're a little bit more tech advanced than some of us
Yeah.
as well.
And they have just that great motivation. So that was one of the reasons actually where I thought, okay, I really need to make an effort and bring them online, was so that I had canceled the concert for the kids. And then I told them, oh, it's okay, we're not gonna go on stage, but we're gonna do our last class next week at the studio. So you all dress up, all the parents will come and we just perform at the studio. It will be very beautiful. So I really hyped them for that. And literally it was the day before that they started the lockdown. I had to tell them not to come. So I was really devastated. I was thinking, oh, that's just so bad for the kids. And we worked the whole term something, and I felt like we haven't achieved anything because they didn't get to perform, etc. So I was really sad. And then one of the moms, I think the next day, sent me a video of the two daughters, the two sisters, fully dressed up. Like they would have spent a good hour, I think, getting dressed, and the hair and everything was so pretty. And they just danced for the 5 people in their house. They did every routine we learned through the term, and I was just so glad they sent me the video. They were so smiley and happy and doing the dances 100%. Yeah, it was really like just a big wave of motivation. I was like, oh my god, they're really like into it. It's just doing it whatever in front of 5 people instead of 300 we were supposed to have. And yeah, so I was really like, okay, we need to do that.
Kids are, that's so beautiful that they did that. And, you know, as a teacher, it would have made you so happy as well. Like, you know, sometimes like when you're teaching and something like this happens, COVID-19, or the first thing we think about is the children. Like, because we know that adults will adapt, that they have certain, you know, emotional, mental, social tools in order to adapt. But then kids, I think all teachers worried about kids, but they adapted so quickly. And I think it, you know,
Yeah.
as teachers, it makes you happy when you see them so happy when they dance. Like, you know, and you have to remember, like, as a teacher, like, you do such a brilliant job, and that's why they want to make you proud as well. So it's really good that your students did that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just very good at giving back, you know. It's nice to see, for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. Oh, very nice. I was actually going to ask you, we touched on this topic earlier, but in terms of you do so many outdoor sports, you spend so much time in nature. Because I always see you doing so many, you're in the air, you're in the sky, you're in the water. Can you tell our audience about some of the outdoor sports and activities that you do?
Yeah, so mostly I paraglide. So that's flying without any motor, like a parachute, I guess, but we're mostly going up um, and doing distance. So we can do sometimes 50 Ks or 80 kilometers, 100 kilometers.
Wow.
So that's definitely, it's been my main sport for 15 years now. I love it a lot. This has been pretty affected by the COVID as well.
Yeah.
And I'm the president of the club, one of the clubs in Victoria.
Oh,
And so each club had to make a decision of what we're going to do because of the new regulations, etc. We're not really sure that we were still insured because there was no real list of which sport is allowed, which one is not allowed. So we actually had to close the sites, which made a few of our pilots a little bit angry. But we had to close the sites just to make sure that no one goes out there, has an accident, can't claim, because I guess the lawyers and the insurers would find loopholes by the regulation and sort of things. But we were able to reopen recently, so that was a big bonus. Everybody's really happy. And then kite surfing, that was kind of regulated for a couple of days and then they reopened. So it was kind of every little council, every beach had their own little policy at the time. It was quite complicated to know whether you could or could not. But I think most kiters still managed to go out there quite a bit. And now we fully reopened. So that's good. I personally didn't go out much because I'm not close to the beach and I didn't want to travel too much and spread the virus. And then I am not sure how serious this virus is or not, but I just didn't want to take any risk. So I didn't do any flying, a tiny little bit of kite surfing. And normally I like to ride my motorbike as well. And same, I didn't want, because with a motorbike I travel a lot very quickly. So I didn't want to just go out and spread the virus. So possibly have an accident and then use the emergencies. And so it's been staying at the studio. Actually, it's been sleeping inside, which it's enjoying a lot being indoors. But yeah, I'm really keen now that they've reopened everything and we can travel. I'm very keen to go back out as well.
Oh wow! No, I was gonna say because they, for a lot of people, they sound like very extreme sports. Like, were you nervous when you first began, or were you just excited to begin when you first? You said 15 years, is it that you've been doing?
Yeah, for flying, it's been 15 years. So I was 18 when I started flying. But I wanted to fly before that, and I had done a tandem as a young teenager. So you fly with somebody else. I really always really wanted to be in the air. So when it was time to do it, I was not very nervous. I was only nervous because I was not very coordinated. I was not very good at sports at school, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder if I can actually do this. So it was more about whether I can do this, but I didn't think the sport in itself was very dangerous. I was just wondering if I can, if I'm smart enough to do it. But in the end, it's really not as scary as you think because you start on just a slope. So you don't actually fly, you don't run off a cliff from the start. You're just on a slope and you put your glider up and you can just feel it that it's holding you. You can feel it's holding you and you just run down the hill with it. And then after that you run and you do a few steps in the air and you can feel that you're perfectly safe. You're just hanging there. And then after that, whether you have 2 meters under you or 2,000 meters, it makes no big difference apart from the view.
Well, it sounds very exciting.
Yeah, so it's not too extreme. You can make it extreme, you can in the way you fly, but then you make those decisions yourself. So some pilots are very conservative, they're very careful, and some pilots are really reckless, people say. So they push the limits a little bit, but that's just up to each pilot. Yeah.
Oh wow, no, it's on the list for someday. Maybe I'll ask you again when I decide to start training.
Yeah, you should. For example, I found riding the motorbike much more dangerous than flying, for example.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because there's just many other things, like other people around you, especially that you just can't have no control over that. they're very fast. If you're on a highway, for example, people around you, everyone is very fast, and you have very minimum protection. So I find riding motorbikes is much more dangerous. There's a lot of things you can't control, I guess.
Yeah, I can totally see you doing like a Bollywood movie. You know, usually in Bollywood movies, the guy comes in on the motorbike and there's epic
Yeah.
music. Like, I think you should do that for a video
I
shoot.
would really like to do that. I actually saw a movie, a Bollywood movie, I cannot remember the title, where there was something like paragliding as well. It was all really action movie, totally surrealistic kind of action movie. And the hero arrived somewhere on a paraglider, and there was a motorbike involved as well. And I was thinking, oh, I should have done that role.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of yet really strong female character on like for the Bollywood movies anyway. There's not yet a lot of really. They've done a few strong female characters, like I think it was Gulabi Gang. So that was strong female characters, and they're fighting, but they haven't yet done like a lot of nice extreme sports for females in Bollywood movies. It's lacking.
So I think
if someone
is watching, Babushka is the person to call if you need somebody on a motorbike.
You know, to alternate the beautiful, glamorous dancing scenes with the hardcore extreme sports.
Exactly. That would be something to see.
It would be good.
I was actually going to ask you next, because especially because you have so much experience in both, you know, dancing, teaching, you know, sports as well, and modeling, acting, and so many different things. But and also in relation to, like, we live in such a fast-driven technology. You know, all kids are like this these days. They're on TikTok, they're on Snapchat, they're on. I mean, they have so much access to social media. I feel like people are comparing themselves to others much more than now before. Like compared to when we were growing up, like we had magazines and TV and VCR videos. You know, internet came in much later for our generation.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have a mobile phone until I was in high school.
Yeah, like I've, you know, all kids have a mobile these days. For us it was completely different, and I find that like a lot of, especially the younger generation, I find that they compare themselves a lot more, especially when it comes to, you know, beauty or body image or things like that. But I actually wanted to ask you, being an actress, a model, and a dancer, and a teacher, and so many other things, like, what advice would you give to the younger generation in terms of like embracing themselves and also just accepting who they are and loving themselves?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think that technologies can be a very good thing and a very bad thing. So it's difficult for teenagers especially to kind of have a guidance through it and make the right choices as well. I think I think people should look at the social media, especially, but internet in general, as a source of documents, with documents on different people's lives and different situations, and kind of look at it and pick the good things and then really block out the negative things, which is difficult to do. But I think the good thing is not just looking at beautiful people who are healthy and life goes amazing, because that's kind of actually can be pretty depressing when you compare your own life to something like this. For example, could be like, oh, I don't have all of this, so I don't have all that money, etc. I'm more thinking of the positivity as a fine. For example, you would bump into the story of someone. I was watching this documentary the other day. Someone has lost 3 limbs, 2 legs and 1 arm. He was totally fine, 15-year-old. Suddenly he lost 3 limbs, and then the documentary was showing how amazing he managed to overcome that, and now he's got prosthetics and he's pushing himself and he's running marathon and he's doing all amazing things. So I find you can really kind of enrich yourself with those experiences of seeing what other people have to overcome and how they do it and how they can really inspire you, and then to kind of push away all the people who kind of criticize and put you down, sort of things. I've actually recently, maybe the last 5 years, pretty much anytime there is someone who repeatedly comments something negatively on my timeline, I just block them.
Oh,
It's very drastic. So it's not like censorship, or it's not that I'm trying to live in my own world. But when I see that same person will criticize something, and then again another post I will put, and they always kind of find that little negative thing to say. Well, I give them a couple of chances, and then I just block them out. And then very quickly you forget about that person altogether.
yeah.
And suddenly, oh, you know, it filters through the people who come into your life via social media. And you end up with just people like you. You're always so supportive every time. Your posts are supportive, and then whenever you comment on other things, you're really engaging. And so you end up with people like you, just that circle of people. Maybe you'll have less contacts on social media, but they're really beneficial. And sometimes it can still be criticism, so people will give you criticism, but they're like constructive criticism, and you can take something out of that. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Or I was like, oh, I didn't realize I did this way. So I don't block those people. I just block the people who make this negative comment that doesn't bring anything apart from making you feel bad. So I think that would be my advice, is just to try to really, every time you look at something, how did it make you feel, and what do you want to do about it? And with the pretty much every social media platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok now, you can really decide what you're going to see and what you're not going to see. So just constantly applying that filter. And try not to spend too much time on it, I guess, not to get too much sucked into it as well. I remember actually when we were in school, I don't know if people do this in school in Australia, but in France, we have this class, this topic, which is pretty much analyzing documents. So at the time, social media was not really big, but it would be a lot of propaganda posters, for example, or billboards or commercials, and you have to kind of break it down and understand what attracts you in the colors and the layout, and how it makes you feel, and how people are selling you a product or something like that. And you kind of break it down and try to deconstruct and understand how it's dragging you, whether positively or negatively. And then you can kind of take the message, the real message out of it. So if it's a propaganda poster, for example, you can see that it's misinformation, or that they're selecting what they're showing you, or the sort of things. I don't know if that happens in school in Australia, but I always found this topic really amazing, and I still do this. So whenever you see a photo, like a perfect photo of a model, for example, if you're a teenager and you see a perfect photo of a model, you have to kind of deconstruct. I was like, yeah, she's stunning, but look at her skin. Yeah, but her skin has probably been photoshopped, and look at her hair is so big and thick. Yeah, but that's probably been modified as well, or maybe she's wearing extensions. So it's kind of deconstruct this perfect image, so that when you put yourself next to it, you don't go like, oh, but I look like this, and this model looks like this, So I think with social media, it's good to have a similar approach, where you kind of listen and read the information, kind of make your own judgment. And if you're really interested in subject, Google the subject as well, see if there is real information there. I see a lot of people just share posts, but they don't make their own research, and they share things that are totally wrong sometimes, and they're really convinced it's true because they've read it. But they don't realize that nowadays it's just a lot of really misinformation and sort of thing. So yeah, my advice would be to just have a bit of a critic eye on everything that you see, and just don't let it affect you too much. And when you feel like it's bringing you down a lot, then just turn the phone and the computer off and go outside.
Yeah, oh, exactly. That's exactly right. And I think I love how you explained it all, because I think especially, I mean, everyone has that knack to sometimes compare themselves, but I find as you're growing older, the children and the teenagers, because they're at such a vulnerable age, there's so many hormones battling and having a war inside you that you're really developing cognitively, like your brain's still developing technically until you're at 24, 25. So I mean, listen to what Babushka said, everyone. We get that a lot, like, especially like you probably get this as well, and being so beautiful. Like, I know every gig that we go to, people will come up to you and say, oh, you're so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. That was a great show, this and that. But then you get the different kind of compliments. Like, I've had people come up to me so many times, oh, I've seen your Facebook page, you're so glamorous, your life is perfect. And I've literally had to stop what I'm doing, and I will actually take the time to speak to these people properly, and I'll just say, look, yes, this is glamorous being on stage, but no one's life is perfect. Mine is not perfect. I'm a woman. I have my happiness. I have my demons. I have a lot of pain. I have everything that you have. It just looks this way because I'm on stage for 5 minutes with my stage smile. And, you know, I've spent hours on my hair, makeup, and outfits and everything. So sometimes you really have to explain that to people. So, because it's something that we come across a lot in the industry. I think people will see like such a beautiful photo of you, exactly how you said. And sometimes I've had students bring in photos of me to class. And they're like, oh, you know, you look so blah, blah, blah. This is so nice. And I always say to them, look at this photo. I said, this lighting was here. That's why it created this angle. Otherwise, I don't have that straw jaw line. And
Yeah.
I'll always say to them, this was photoshopped. This was lighting. This was makeup. So it's really good that you broke it down like that, because I think it's very important that you do your research, number one, if you're not
Yeah.
sure. And also, if you want to change something in your life, like you can. And there's so many people that you can talk to apart from people who are, you know, at your school or your same age. Like, you know, there's people like Babushka. I'm just saying this to my audience right now. People like Babushka who are your teachers as well. So we're not just here to teach you and be at gigs and keep smiling on stage. Like, you can use us as mentors as well. And I think, and that's what we're trying to do with these podcasts. Like, just remind the youth and everyone in general that no one's perfect. We're all in this together. And honestly,
Yeah.
like, just don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call, if anything, or send out a message or ask for help when you need. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're still all learning. So a few years ago, my whole profile on social media was just my modeling work, only the videos, music video clips, and photos that I shot professionally. I didn't have a single photo of me without makeup, for example, or just a selfie or this sort of thing, because I thought I was really using social media as like the marketing tool, and just purely to connect, to find work. I would never post anything personal there. And then actually it started with a couple of my acting agents of like, oh, on your resume, you wrote that you do this, you write, you fly, you do this. Why do we not see anything about that? And I was like, well, that has nothing to do with the job. So I put what I think your customers want to see, which is me with makeup and looking good. And they were like, no, we need to see you doing all these active things, because as an actor that could be useful, and also because people relate more to you, and then it's better for networking, it's better. And I was really reluctant in doing it. And then I read a few things about people just comparing themselves to models especially, and feeling really negative about themselves and terrible. And I thought, oh, I'm part of the problem. I'm doing exactly this, I'm only putting the perfect shots up. And at the time I really didn't have the negative intention of making everyone feel bad. I was just putting my best foot out and trying to present myself the best possible for work, really. But then I realized it had terrible effect on people around me as well. So yes, that's why you said before, we see you with that makeup and we see you do things outdoors. And so that's why I started doing this, and just very random photos of me in everyday life. Also for that reason, to go like, oh yeah, I do this, but this is what I really look like when I'm building in a studio or when I'm doing other things. So I really hope it helps. And I think it helps the person as well, because now I know that people know what I really look like, and when I go somewhere, I don't have them to expect me to be up there when I'm just me, right? So I think that's definitely an advice for people as well, is they don't have to kind of apply that filter to every photo and look at their best before they post something. Definitely, so they can just be themselves, and people know to expect them when they come with all their qualities and flaws alike. I think it's good.
No, definitely, 100%. I was actually going to say to you, I'm so sorry, we've actually run out of time, but I have one last thing for you. It's more fun and just almost like a crash course in getting to know Babushka's favorite things. So I'm just going to literally in 30 seconds, I'm going to ask for your favorite 10 different things. I've written it down. So take as long as you need to answer, or you can answer very quickly, but it's very basic. So what's your favorite color?
Orange.
Oh, nice. Do you have a favorite city? Anywhere globally?
City?
City, yes.
Melbourne.
Oh,
That's why I'm here. I'm in my favorite city.
apparently the most livable city. All right. Favorite location in Melbourne for photo shoots?
For photo shoot.
Or any kind of shoot.
Probably Black Rock is very nice. It's like a yellow cliff. It's very beautiful.
Oh, yes, it is very beautiful. Do you have a favorite cuisine? Any type of food in particular?
I miss French food a lot. But I'm enjoying butter chicken here today.
Is there like I've only been to 2 or 3 French restaurants in Melbourne. Is there any? Do you recommend any that you know?
There is one called Laurent, which is very good. They cook the meat especially nice. I don't know if you're vegetarian or if you eat meat, but Laurent is really good. Otherwise, I like all the bakery. You know, the French bakery is really nice.
Can't go wrong with French bakeries. Okay, I'm going to ask a really odd question because you have such beautiful hair. Favorite hair product? I'm asking this for my husband because he has beautiful.
I don't actually use anything. I use Head and Shoulders shampoo. I'm pretty basic. I don't have extensions or dye or anything. I actually bought conditioner for the first time in years yesterday. So,
no, I thought maybe because you're so heavily involved with the Indian culture, I thought maybe you put oil because a lot of us, we use either coconut oil or clove oil.
No, what I do actually, like the tip from a beautiful Indian lady, which is to put your natural yogurt.
Okay, yeah.
Like edible yogurt.
Yeah.
I just do that. So I do that like once a month. And it works really nice. I used to put coconut oil, especially when I go kite surfing, because it stays in the hair and protects it from the salt. But then I find it really difficult to wash off, makes it really heavy and like.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and then it sometimes it just gets all everywhere.
Yeah.
Last one. Do you have a favorite day of the week, and why?
Favorite day of the week is usually Saturdays because that's the biggest on stage time.
Yes, definitely. No, good. I think Saturday is a favorite one for most people. Otherwise, Friday evening, the weekend.
Yeah.
But I think
for me, my week kind of starts on Friday. So
exactly. Yeah, same for us. I mean, even though I think similar schedules, we're going from one class to a gig, but yeah, Fridays when most of the events start. So it's I think usually it's the good time of the week.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time. It was so lovely to talk to you. But I will put Babushka's details, socials, LinkedIn, everything down the bottom. So if you need to get in touch to book her or even just say hello or use just talk to her for inspiration, have a look at her work. All her handles will be below. So keep in touch. Make sure you link up to her Instagram and Facebook and her other websites as well, because she does absolutely wonderful work. Thank you so much. Take care. Hopefully we'll see each other very, very soon once all this is over.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely need to do a industry party.
Yes, I think so. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jenny. See you soon.
Bye.